Hello and welcome to Pokemon Lair. Today we're going to be unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to Professional Sports Authority a year ago and just got them back. They come back in a bigger box surrounded by packaging. They put them in this nice little box with some great packaging to keep them safe and sound during the shipping and so they're not damaged, and they look perfectly well when you get them. So let me get them out of here and we'll see what grades we got. Alright? Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon Original Game Alakazam Holo, the #1 card. Looking at the front of this card, there's no bends or damage that's obvious. Looking closely at the holo, there might be some extremely minor scratches. Looking at the centering of the front of the card, it looks like it's a little off-centered to the left. And looking at the edges look really crisp and clean. There's no problem with the corners fraying. It looks pretty good. Looking at the back, it looks pretty good. No creases, bends, or scratches. Looking at the centering looks pretty good. Maybe a little off to the right. The corners and the edges look really clean. There might be a little bit of corner damage up in the upper right. And that should give us a grade of a excellent mint 6. I think that's a pretty harsh grade. I think that's a better card than that. But we'll see. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon Original Game Electrode, the #21 card. Looking at the surface of the card, there's no bends, scratches, or damage. Looking at the centering looks not too bad from side to side. It looks a little, maybe towards the top a little centered towards the top. And the edges look really good along with the corner. Looking at our back, the surface looks really great. No creases, damage, or scratches. Looking at the centering looks good from side to side and top to bottom. Looking at our edges and corners, I don't see any fraying or damage. It looks pretty good. And that's going to give us a grade of mint 9. Awesome. I like mint 9s. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon Original Game Chansey Holo, the #3 card. Looking at the front of this card, the surface, I don't see any scratches, creases, or bends. Looking at the centering of this card, it looks a little like it's off to the right. Looking at the corners and the edges of this card, there's some minor damage from the lower left corner about halfway up the lower side. It's just a bunch of little tiny marks. Moving to the back looks really crisp and clean. There's no damage or bends. Looking at the centering looks pretty darn good. The edges don't look too bad. I don't see any fraying. So it looks pretty good. And that will give us a grade of near mint 8. Not too shabby. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon Original Game Arcanine, the #3 card. Looking at the front surface of this card, you can see that there's no bends, damage, or scratches. Looking at the centering of this card, it looks pretty good from top to bottom and side to side. And finally, looking at the edges look really crisp and clean. There's no problem with fraying on the corners. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that the surface looks really clean. There's no scratches, damage, or bends. Looking at the centering, it is slightly off to the left. And looking at our edges, they're nice and clean. There's no damage or fraying. The card looks pretty good. And that should give us a grade of mint 9. Pretty good for a 20-year-old card. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon Original Game Clefairy, a Holo Shadowless version, the #5 card. Looking at the front of this card, you're going to see a slight scratch right to the left of the foot of Clefairy. Then you're looking at the centering, it is slightly off to the right. And on the right side edge, you'll see a little damage just above center. Looking at the back, you'll see the surface looks really good. There's no bends, scratches, or damage. Looking at our centering, the top to bottom looks good, but it is off to the left. from side to side. And our edges and corners, you'll see there's a little bit of fraying on or damage on all four corners. With all that being discovered, I'm not expecting a high grade. Excellent mint 6. That's pretty good for all the things that I pointed out. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon original game, Dewgong, the number 25 card. The front surface of this card looks really good. There's no scratches, dings, or bends. Looking at the centering of this card, it looks pretty good from side to side and top to bottom. Looking at our edges, there's no damage or fraying on any of the corners or the sides or top and bottom edges. Looking at the back, you can see that it looks really crisp and clean. Looking at our centering, it is quite off a little bit to the left. Looking at our edges look pretty good. I don't see much except that there's a little bit of tiny damage across the top and bottom edges. And that'll give us a grade of near mint, mint 8. Not too shabby for a 20-year card. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon original game, Hitmonchan, the Holo number 7 card. Looking at the surface of this card, there's no bends or scratches, but there looks like there might be some wear on the Holo. Looking at the centering from top to bottom and side to side, it looks really good. Looking at the corners and edges, there's no fraying or damage that I can see there. Switching to the back, you can see that it looks really good just like the front. No damage, scratches, or bends. Looking at the centering, it looks really good from top to bottom and side to side. Looking at our edges and corners, I don't see any fraying or damage on them. That will give us a grade of a excellent mint 6. Wow. That must mean there is wear on the front of these cards. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon original game, Farfetch'd, the number 27 card. Looking at the front surface of this card, I don't see any damage, creases, or bends. I don't see major scratches. Looking at the centering of this card, it looks pretty good from top to bottom and side to side. And looking at all the edges and corners, I don't see any fraying or damage that usually is there. Looking at the back of the card, it looks pretty good. I don't see any creases, scratches, or damage. Looking at the centering, it doesn't look too bad. Maybe slightly off to the top. But besides that, it looks good. Looking at the edges, there might be a little edge damage on one of the, I think on the bottom, but it's really hard to see. Now going to the back, you can see that it looks really good. There's no bends, scratches, or damage to the surface. Looking at the centering looks pretty good all the way around. And finally, the edges look pretty clean. I don't see any problems with fraying at the corners. And that's going to give us a grade of excellent 5. I don't understand. That should be in a lot better card. Wow. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon original game, Magneton, the Holo number 9 card. Looking at the surface card, it looks really clean. I don't see any scratches, bends, or damage. Looking at the centering on the card, it looks really good from top to bottom and side to side. Go ahead and look at the edges and the corners. I don't see any fraying or damage there. Looking at the back, you can see that it looks really clean. There's no bends, damage, or scratches on the back. Our centering looks really good from top to bottom and right to left. And finally, looking at our corners and edges, I don't see any fraying or damage there. Could it be a 10? Oh man, we were robbed. It's a mint 9, but still really good. Our grade review of a 1999 Pokemon original game, Haunter, a Shadowless, number 29 card. Looking at the front of this card, you'll see that there's a little bit of dirt on the upper left part of the yellow border. Looking at the rest of the surface of this card, it looks pretty good. I don't see any scratches or damage. Our centering looks pretty good, but looking at our edge, there's some rough edges on the top and on the left side. Looking at the back, the surface looks really good. Our centering looks pretty good from top to bottom and side to side. But looking at our edges, you can see that they're still rough as they were in the front, and that's going to hurt us. So our grade is going to be an excellent mint 6. Not too bad for an old card like that. I guess it's showing its age.